This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello, it's Tuesday, July 13th. I'm Rich here with Scott Maxwell, Steve Hudak, and Annie Martin. We've got some good topics we're going to dive into today. We're going to start here with Steve Hudak. We're going to talk about Orange County and concerned about unvaccinated individuals. But before we get to him, let's go to Raul Pino, our health official here. He had some comments yesterday in a press conference.
This is a moment of truth for our county, but this is an unvaccinated issue. The vaccine is effective, the vaccine is working, the vaccine is everywhere, and the vaccine is free. It's up to you to take it and make that decision. 100% of the cases reported yesterday were among unvaccinated individuals.
All right, Steve Hudak, what's going on? It seems like Orange County Mayor Demings is saying that vaccinated people should actually even be wearing masks right now. What's going on?
Well, I think we're in a situation where we have about 40% of our population that is not vaccinated, and it doesn't appear that they're going to get vaccinated. And let me just tell you, the people who are getting sick and the people who are dying are people who are unvaccinated. That's just a fact. The people who are dying are unvaccinated people, largely, 95% of them. The other 5% are older, and so COVID may be a contributing factor to their death, or they have underlying medical conditions. And Dr. Pino says this over and over again, and Mayor Deming says this as well. There are a lot of people among us who can't get vaccinated. They may be someone in chemotherapy. It might be somebody with some other medical condition that prevents them. So they're at risk from other people who are unvaccinated who could be. Dr. Pino told this story yesterday, and he talked about how he was discouraged. That we have this mobile unit that goes out to neighborhoods, and there's a place not far from where he works at the health department that's a little restaurant. He goes there a lot, and they always say it's difficult for them to go. They can't go to Barber Park. So he said, I'll arrange for the mobile unit to come here. So he did, and he went there with it. And it was raining, so he brought an umbrella, and he was literally walking people from their cars to the unit. He said they vaccinated, they were there 3 hours, 4 hours, they vaccinated 25 people, not a single person from the restaurant. So he said some people just don't want to get vaccinated.
Right, and right now it seems like this concern is on that Delta variant. That's the one that seems to be going through the county right now.
Well, yeah, that's the one that's, I think it's spawned out of India. And keep in mind, all a variant is it is just a mutation of the actual virus. And what he's most concerned about is that an unvaccinated person, according to Dr. Pino, is a factory for the virus. It'll turn out these, it keeps changing, it keeps replicating itself, and it might change here and there. And what his biggest concern is one of these changes might end up finding a way to be resistant to the vaccines we have now, and we can prevent it.
It seems like the spike hasn't hit hospitalizations yet, and that's still to come potentially.
Well, he says it is. It has followed before that when people gathered together and ignored social protocols and now ignore vaccines, if they get together, what follows from that is that there'll be a rise in positivity rates. Then there'll be a rise in the number of people who go to ER with symptoms, COVID-like symptoms, which are also like flu-like symptoms. And then that follows hospitalizations and then follows death. We've had a year to look at this. This is what has happened over the last 15 months.
You can read his story right now on OrlandoSentinel.com. More information on that, and of course, big concerns in the county right now. All right, moving forward here to Scott Maxwell. So Scott, Florida leaders are paying D.C. legal fees to defend controversial laws, and that essentially means taxpayer money. Tell us, how much are we paying?
Yeah, I'll cut right to the chase, Rich. We finally got our hands on one of the contracts, and Florida is paying a D.C. firm rates of up to $675 an hour, billable in 6-minute chunks. I did the math out to about $11 a minute. We are paying to defend laws that are blatantly unconstitutional. And when I say blatantly unconstitutional, I mean that even the legislature's own staff warned legislators before they passed these laws that they would probably run afoul of the First Amendment, and they passed them anyway, and the governor signed them. We knew some of them were hypocritical and unconstitutional, but now they're also costly.
That's the big question right now. It seems when it hits federal judges, they pretty much say this is not happening, and that's concerning, Scott.
Yeah, these were not close calls in most people's estimation. As I mentioned, their own analyst said it was a bad idea. The first one, which we wrote about earlier, was the big tech lawsuit. This is where legislators and the governor tried to force Facebook and Twitter to leave up all posts by politicians, regardless if they used racial epithets, if they were lies, if they were pornography, if they were illegal. They tried to force Facebook, which is a privately funded platform, to say they can't censor those or take them down on things they run. It was clearly a violation of their First Amendment rights. You can't force somebody to spread lies, and a judge said so. And then the more recent one, and this one's a little bit more interesting, was they tried to crack down on campaign contributions, saying they couldn't be more than $3,000, which might be a good idea, although it runs afoul of the Constitution, except legislators and the governor only wanted to crack down on donations to citizen campaigns, efforts to get issues on the ballot, say to smaller class sizes, better rights for former felons, better pre-K programs. The politicians themselves, Ron DeSantis has taken donations of up to $5 million apiece, not collectively at a time. The House Speaker has taken donations of $50,000, $75,000. They're fine with that. But they passed a law that said if anyone cut a check for $3,001 to a citizen's effort to get an issue on the constitutional amendment ballot, they could be arrested and sentenced to up to a year in prison. Well, aside from being hypocritical, the judge said this is unconstitutional. Supreme Court has said you can't restrict campaign donations that way. And what's most interesting is this judge. This judge is an appointee of Donald Trump. He worked for Pam Bondi. He was also appointed by Rick Scott. So anybody who wants to try to say this is some sort of liberal activism, it's a bunch of baloney. This is just basic common sense by people who understand and care about the Constitution. Unfortunately, Florida's Republican leadership does not seem to be among that group.
Yeah, and not only does it distract from, say, the issues that plague the state, it seems like it's costing us, and that's really concerning.
And that's what I wanted to dive into more this time. I asked the Attorney General, the Governor's Office, and the Secretary of State how much they were spending on this. I will tell you that as of today, it is Tuesday, I asked this question Friday, 0 of them provided any documentation to back this up. Some of them said they use staff lawyers. And by the way, that's true. On one of these, I counted 12, whatever 12 would be, 12 different state-funded taxpayer lawyers who worked on this, but that apparently wasn't enough. They needed 4 more from a DC lawyer. I got those documents from the First Amendment Foundation of Florida. The people who are spending your money are not sharing with the taxpayers or with us what they're doing. The First Amendment Foundation got those and revealed that it was $675 for the 4 private lawyers in addition to the 12 staff ones. And by the way, there's absolutely a cost to staff paid lawyers. They're all paid pretty well. And if they're working on this, once again, a garbage unconstitutional law, they're not working on other things that people might need.
All right, Scott, appreciate that. You can read his column right now on OrlandoSentinel.com. We're going to go here to Annie Martin. And right now, it seems to be this growing scandal around ghost candidates and seems to be some missing money with a PAC. What's going on, Annie?
Yeah, this issue is a little bit complicated, so please stay with me. But there is a political action committee that is linked, and I'll get to how it's linked in a second, to an investigation into these so-called ghost candidates who appeared on ballots but didn't do any campaigning or any fundraising, that reported $45,000 in contributions to other PACs, specifically PACs supporting state legislators, that was not reported as a contribution by the receiving PAC. So the way political action committees are supposed to work is you make a contribution and the committee that's receiving your contribution is supposed to report that as well. Well, that didn't happen. And there was a total of $45,000 that was missing that supposedly went to Republican lawmakers. And so there's a connection between this PAC and an investigation into a former state senator who's been arrested and charged with breaking state election finance laws down in South Florida, because there is a whole host of records that have been collected as part of that investigation, as well as folks who've been subpoenaed and had to turn over things ranging from phone records to bank account reports to text messages. And there is a name of a 26-year-old woman from South Florida named Andrea Roca, whose name appears on the subpoena list in connection with another political action committee that sent out advertisements encouraging people to vote for these so-called ghost candidates. And we're not entirely sure what her role might have been in the ghost candidate scandal yet, but it is interesting that her name appears on this PAC, and it also appears on the subpoena list.
Yeah, another thing is this discrepancy as far as where this money's going, and there were some big key races here in this region that had ghost candidates, and this money went to them from this PAC, and the candidates are saying no, it didn't, and that's where this big discrepancy is happening.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the ghost candidates was a woman who filed to run in Senate District 9, which covers Seminole County and part of Volusia County. And the Republican who won that race, Jason Broder, was among the candidates who had a PAC associated with them, that this other PAC that had the missing money supposedly contributed to. But Senator Broder said that his campaign PAC never received that contribution. They don't have any record of it. And it's just one of the many discrepancies and mysteries we have surrounding this ghost candidate scandal. And I know we've written about this a bunch, but basically there's someone who puts their name on the ballot in a highly competitive race. Advertisements go out encouraging people to vote for that person. And it appears to be a scheme that is intended to siphon away votes from the Democrat in the race, because these mailers contain promises and language that seems intended to appeal to people who might vote for a Democrat.
Tell me, where does the violation of Florida law come into play with this potentially?
Well, it's a violation of Florida law to not accurately report campaign spending. And Frank Artiles got in trouble. That's the South Florida senator who's been charged former state senator who's been charged in connection with this scandal, got in trouble because he paid a friend under the table nearly $45,000 to file to run in this South Florida race. And it's also a crime for someone who is running a political action committee to report a contribution if you didn't actually make that contribution, or if you received money from a source and didn't report it publicly. Because the way election records are supposed to work is we're supposed to find out exactly who's giving money to who. And if ads go out, you're supposed to know who's paying for them. And that's why it's a crime to receive money and not report it, or to make a contribution and have the recipient of that contribution not report it.
Yeah, Scott Maxwell, I'm going to bring you in here. You've hit on this topic many times, and have to say, this one doesn't seem to pass the smell test, even though it seems a bit of a mystery and not quite sure yet.
Yeah, and let me tie this in with what we talked about just a few minutes ago. In this country, it has been deemed by the Supreme Court legal to donate unlimited amounts of money to campaigns. I don't personally agree with that, but that's the deal. The trade-off was supposed to be that you can donate as much money as long as you account for all of it, as long as you explain who is cutting the check and who is receiving it. For damn near a year now, this paper has documented one episode after another, all surrounding this race, Senate District 9, and another one down in South Florida, where there is money that is not accounted for. There were starting balances, as if this money came a biogenesis style out of nowhere. There was the money that Annie's talking about now, which is unexplained. Annie used the word mysterious. The common theme is there are a lot of unanswered questions. Now, down in South Florida, where there were unanswered questions, a prosecutor got off his butt and decided to seek her butt in this case, and decided to try to seek answers. And not only did she seek answers, she got an indictment. She found out that somebody had allegedly, as Annie mentioned, been improperly paying. Here in Central Florida, no official has sought answers. Prosecutor Phil Archer's office has not been involved. The FDLE has not been involved. When I contacted the Secretary of State, who's supposed to be in charge of elections, her office couldn't have seemed less interested. So that's why you have people like Annie who are running around knocking on doors trying to get answers because state officials have not. And it's a real discrepancy between what's happening in South Florida, what's happening here, and it's why we keep writing stories trying to get answers that public officials around here will not seek.
All right, well, good point there. And you can read Annie's story right now on OrlandoSentinel.com, of course, with her colleague Jason Garcia, and they have really been hitting this one, as Scott mentioned. All right, well, that's all our topics today. Appreciate you all being with us, but we're going to go ahead and push pause until tomorrow. Until next time, I'm Rich, Scott, Steve, and Annie. Everyone have a great day. See you soon. Take care.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on OrlandoSentinel.com.